what it's like to be homeless. It sucks. It's one of the worst things I could wish on anyone. It's something I want you to consider as you're listening to this. If you're under 25 years old, you can't rent a car. If you're under 21 years old, you can't rent a hotel room if they have a bar in the hotel anywheres. It's something I learned out the hard way. When I was homeless, I was pretty young. I couldn't rent a car. I couldn't rent a lot of hotel rooms. And a lot of other things happened as well. I actually had money at the time, and I wasn't doing drugs. But even though I had money to pay for an apartment, a lot of the cheaper apartments you go to look at, they would find out that you're paying cash and then accept somebody that's on benefits ahead of you because they see the benefits as being more reliable than you. So a lot of these cheap apartments were accepting people on HUD and Section 8 and all that. And I couldn't even find a place to really rent at first. So what I was doing was just staying in my car. And then I started running low on money after a month or two. And I just realized that I would have to keep doing that until I found something. Then I ended up hitting a deer with my car and taking it out of commission, not being able to afford to fix it. So then I was on bicycle and I was sleeping rough for a few months, and it was getting really cold at the time. I spent a lot of that time in the fall and winter when I was homeless. And it's terrible. There was times where I rode a bicycle 12 miles to go somewheres, and you get there and they kick you out just because you're renowned for being homeless. I would get money for my daily bread, which I had to hustle up. I never begged anyone for anything. I never will. But every day I had to come up with a way of feeding myself once my money started running low. And I didn't like shoplift or anything like that, but I did some hustling. And everything I did at the time is protected under statute of limitations. But I would get money for my daily bread. I would go to a place, buy something to eat, and sit down to eat it, and they'd just kick me out immediately. Pretty much all the stores, once they realized I was homeless and I was riding around on a bike, anytime I went in, they'd follow me around and then kick me out. And then there'd be the times where you'd go somewheres and you couldn't even just leave your bike out there because people would know that you're homeless, and they'd steal your bike. Then there's the times where I would try to find a place to park my car when I had my car to go to sleep, but you're never really safe to just go to sleep because someone will either rob you while you're sleeping in your car, or the police will knock on the window and then you're in trouble. I mean, for all intents and purposes in America, it's basically illegal to be homeless. There's not a place you can go where you're really safe from being dicked with by the police. And when you're homeless, you're the most vulnerable person out there. You are vulnerable to everything. And I can't even get into all the nuances of why that's the case, but you are totally vulnerable, and everyone will fuck with you. Everyone. The police, retailers, the general population. And if you think there's a lot of charity and goodwill out there, think again, because when I was homeless, I had people report me to the police. I was strip searched. All sorts of stuff. And I'll tell some stories on that. I think that someone had set all that up, but I will do a story time on that. But there was times where I almost died in my sleep. There's times where I almost died of hypothermia. There's times where I had to break into places to sleep. And I wasn't even really fully prepared for the cold and all of that. I had to, I remember this one night, it was 3, 4 in the morning, it was just bitter cold, and I was in this building rolled up in a carpet, trying not to freeze to death. And I don't want that to be you. I don't wish that on anyone. And there's the times where I had to spend hours and hours at a time hiding out from public view under the bridge. There's times where I was riding my bike all day just because I needed something to kill my time. I used to try to go to the library and read all the old laminated newspapers from the 40s and 50s. And, people eventually catch on that you're just coming there to kill time, and very shortly, you're not welcome anywheres. So, you're a real pariah in all meanings of the word when you're homeless. No one wants you around. Everyone wants to mess with you. That's why whenever I see someone that's homeless today, I help them in some way. I'm not going to be naive and think that I'm going to pick up some average homeless person and change their life. I see stuff like that all the time online. A lot of those people do have psychological issues. A lot of those people do have addiction issues, but not all of them. And a lot of those people fall through the cracks. So I always try to do something for homeless people because I've been homeless, and you have no idea what it's like unless you've been homeless. And a lot of people will say, well, I'm not going to give them money because they're just going to spend it on drugs. And I say that's a convenient excuse for someone that doesn't want to help. It really is. Because I can tell you for sure that I never even spent any money on drugs when I was homeless. And any $5, $10 would have changed my entire world in a given day or two. So, even if someone, I'll pose this to you, even if someone does have a serious addiction and they're homeless, and you give them $10, and that allows them to buy a bag of dope, that's one less bag of dope they got to hustle out of the community, steal from the community. And, in due course, people will either fix their problems or not. So, I don't even know if I really buy that excuse 100%. I try to help people whenever possible. If they look like they're an addict, I try not to give them money. But there's other things that you can give to help people. So I want you to think about that. I'll be including some other stories from when I was homeless. I've got a couple of them. One about how I was basically set up and the police really ran roughshod over me for no reason. But I'll tell that story. And I want to give a big shout out to some of the people I remember that helped me. Tina, Warren, Brian, Stephanie. Big shout out to all of you for helping me when you didn't have to help me. I haven't forgot about your kindness, and I appreciate you. I just want to add one more thing. All these government agencies that claim they're there to help people, they don't care about helping people. They don't genuinely care. And when I really learned this is when I went down to the office in the village that I was in at the time. It was, I think, a HUD office. I think that was the actual name of it. But I went in and I said, I just need help finding an apartment. You must have lists of landlords with apartments in the area. I just need to find a cheap apartment I can pay. I don't need assistance. You know what they told me? We don't do that. We can't help you. Yep, that's it. And then they said that I would have to get sovereignty from my parents and apply for welfare and all this. They can't, just lend you a hand helping you find a place to rent. Oh, no. Because they don't care about the human being. It's all bullshit. Government does not care about individual people. They would let me freeze to death rather than go through a list of landlords with some phone numbers and give it to me. Just think about that. Lost generation. We're out.